Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Van Helsing, a wild and crazy episode. I mean, is it me, or did this episode, for one, seem bloodier and definitely a lot brutal? Like, for one, there's the whole thing. The moment they were like, okay, Scab can join us, but he has to become one of us, I was like, no, you're not gonna, dude. What? You don't mean that. And it's like, they meant it. And he was okay with it too. And it just happens. I'm like, it made me shrivel up a little on the inside. I'm like, dude. And when it happened, there was just like a huge splurt of blood. I'm like, oh my God, that happened. And it seems like it doesn't stop there, because anyone that decides to join the sisterhood from this point on, they literally have it at the end, because Ivory's like, first we gotta get some stuff settled. Snip, snip. I'm like, that's so messed up. That's so brutal, dude. That's crazy. I'm also surprised too that she ended up killing Scarface. Which, side note, did they ever give him a name? I'm referring to him as Scarface. I feel like they referenced him as Scarface, but maybe that's just me. But Scarface, the vampire that started all of this. I always think that's kind of interesting, because it's like, oh yeah, there's someone of power, and then they're immediately killed. Because it happens, like, because it's so interesting, because you can look at it like last season. Two great examples of that was Anastasia and Rebecca. Like, both, well, at least Rebecca immediately died in like the first episode of season 2. It's like, you were such a big character and he just killed you all just like that. So that was kind of like, that's what kind of made me feel like, because like, we didn't see a lot of Scarface. We've seen a bit here and there. It's like, oh, your experiment, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, I guess you don't matter because you've already spread like the mutation to other vampires, so it doesn't matter. All that they have to do now is the sisterhood has to bite people, and their mutation happens in them too. So it's kind of like, who cares, right? So it's just a fascinating thing to me. Like, what I also thought was kind of interesting, the fact is, maybe that's just me thinking about it too much, but it's just kind of interesting that his heart was still beating even after Ivory had ripped it out of his chest. So I guess it's supposed to be representative of the fact is, even with the body being dead, the vampire genes inside of the heart keeps it beating nonetheless. Maybe that's just, like I said, maybe that's just me overthinking it, and it's just kind of like, no, stylistically, it's just cool to have her literally having a beating heart in her hand. Maybe that's all there is to it. Because she was kind of like, yeah, why do we need you? And I talked about it, I was just bringing it up, but it's like, it's very reminiscent of how Scab took over the sisterhood as well, because he killed Maya last season, and that's why the sisters start following him. So it's kind of interesting, because now it's like, you follow me, great plan, weak leader, and it's just like, wow. So, and it's also interesting because I guess Scab's no longer top dog anymore, because now Ivory is. So it's interesting how that dynamic kind of switched around like that again. Nevertheless, like I said, it's just crazy that all turned out like that. What was also interesting, too, is like he found out about the Van Helsings, but he didn't relay that information to Ivory. Only thing they relayed to her was the whole Colorado-Denver situation, which is interesting because remember, Doc made that whole point last episode. You guys are so thinking you're protected and stuff like that when you're not. There's new vampires out there that can run into daylight, which is the whole point of this. It's like, yeah, make humans realize that vampires are on top. Not even being above the clouds close to the sun can save them anymore, because this was the vampires' world and is going to continue being the vampires' world, especially now that they can heal like at a crazy fast rate, and plus the sun doesn't affect them like that. But I was like, that's kind of interesting. I guess that was kind of the whole point. Like, it was supposed to foreshadow this, you know? So that's definitely interesting. Along with that, we had another slow-mo moment, which I brought it up. Like, I wonder what made them decide to do. Like, I don't remember them really doing many of these at all. Even, I'm trying to remember. I feel like if they popped up, I would have remembered them. You know, if there was like some season 2 moments or like that. I don't remember. I feel like they're just throwing it in there. It's like, it'd be cool. But it's just that thing like they literally did in season premiere, just that slow-mo at the camp. Also, there was that moment where it was it Mary Beth and Barry? It's like they did like a Negan move on one of the vampires, and I was like, that was some like season 7 premiere brutalness, because like she's up there chopping its head off with like the shovel, and then Barry hits it with the bat. Except it wasn't as gory as the whole Negan situation, but it was more so because it looked like they just like the head exploded into a like cloud of like puff, you know? I was like, but it was still brutal. Even Axel, like, stabbing over and over again. It's like, dude, that's why I'm like, this episode seems super bloody. It's like, I don't know what it is. It just, I don't know. I feel like this show's scaling of just violence kind of like escalates in just some episodes. It's kind of like some episodes just seem way bloodier than the others, which is kind of interesting. It's just like, I was like, Jesus, like, that's just a lot, you know? So, because even when the vampires were dying last episode, there was no big blood thing. Even when the Ba died, you would see like gallons of blood erupting, but it's like, you get what I mean? It's just got, I don't know. Maybe that's kind of like depends on who's directing the episode. If someone directs the episode, maybe it depends. Maybe it's the same person. I know, like, directors aren't one of those things I ever really pay attention to. I should really pay more attention to that, because that way you probably get a feel of like, oh, this is probably this person's style. Like, because like I said, just kind of like, especially the slow motion kind of made me think of the first episode. So this could have been easily directed by the same person who directed the first episode of the season, which once again could be completely wrong. It's just interesting that this is the only other episode that's had slow-mo like that, like very like cinematically done, just like in the first episode of the season. So that's what kind of made me think that. But nevertheless, having Axel continue to look after people, and it's like, yeah, these are kind of newbies at this whole thing. I mean, I think Axel's kind of used to kind of hanging around people who are decently good at surviving. It's like, okay, I'm the one that's running things. I have to be the one to kind of keep you in line. I can't leave you alone for even the smallest amount of time. What I also thought was kind of interesting is the fact is, like, you know, they come across other people, and Barry's like, hey, I can come with you, Axel. I can put on my mask and I can intimidate him. And Axel's like, nah, you're good, Barry. And I'm like, I really like you, Barry. It's just like, the fact is that statement came out of your mouth. It's just the funniest thing ever. It's like, I can put on my mask and intimidate them. It's like, who would ever think to intimidate people in the vampire apocalypse? You know, it's just kind of interesting. I still don't know what that whole situation was. I like it. Axel's trying to help people out. It's like, hey, oh, you want to go to San Francisco? I wouldn't go to San Francisco. We were literally in that direction. It's like, oh, I would take our chance. It's like, no, I'm literally telling you the place is run with vampires. He's like, oh no, there's a boat, blah, blah, blah. I was like, why is this guy being such a stubborn asshole? I mean, I guess it's one thing. I guess you can also make the argument Axel's being stubborn too, but at the same time, Axel's kind of like, your people, I don't want you to go there and get brutally murdered. I have the chance to, like, make sure you're okay, so I want to take that, but the dude didn't want to listen. Well, it's also interesting because there was those crystals and stuff that he stole, which I'm guessing is because Axel's like, oh, I know who wanted these. So it's like, okay, so it's got to be connected to black tech. I guess it's connected to the serum that they make to make anti-vampire stuff, which begs the question, like, he was from Denver. Is that why he was kind of like, oh, we're not going to Denver? Because he was from Denver and he knows if he goes back, most likely get in trouble. I guess that was his main motivation. Maybe he picked all the other people up along the way, I'd assume, along with the pregnant lady. But the thing is, while he was making all those arguments, no one else was talking. He was on some power tripping because he pulled a gun on Axel. I mean, I don't know. He just seemed like an asshole, and I love that Axel just throws Scarlet's knife into his neck and kills him. And he's like, okay, so does anyone else want to have this conversation now as reasonable adults? And they come along with him. They have the pregnant lady, which, am I being stupid? Is that I'm looking at her wondering, is that the same actress who played Harper in this week's episode of Supernatural? Because that's happened, like, because the actress who played Doc in this, she popped up on an episode of Supernatural. I think it was like the actor who played John in season 1 of this was also in Supernatural as well. I'm assuming I wonder if Syfy like do a lot of stuff in Canada, because I brought it up before. I know the CW records a lot of their filming is done in like Vancouver specifically. So I'm wondering, is this kind of all same, like, filmed on the same lot too? Like, I mean, elite. Well, because I think Syfy has Canadian productions. I think this might be a Canadian show technically. I mean, it's an American. I don't know. Like, you know, it's always interesting. Like, what is? I don't know. I'm going on this huge tangent that doesn't matter. But that looked like it was the actress who played Harper, which is interesting because it's like, oh, you're popping up in this, and you're also potentially a recurring character in Supernatural. The way you've set that whole thing up, which I guess me saying that's kind of spoilers for Well, I mean, I didn't give away too much, but I still feel like that could count as spoilers for Supernatural, I guess. But it's just kind of interesting. I think that's the same actress. I kept looking like, you look a little familiar. And I'm like, I think it's the same actress. It always interests me when I'm finding, when you're in two different shows like that. It's just like, just that acting thing. It's just kind of funny how, like, nevertheless. Turns out her name is Kit, and Axel's like, oh, that's funny. She's like, why is that funny? He's like, well, it's not going to be like, ha, 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 funny, but it's like, hey, look, you're Kit, and look, I got a Kit Kat. And she ate all of it, and he's like, oh, yeah, I mean, not like I wanted it. She's like, oh, my God, I didn't think you wanted it. He's like, no, I'm just messing with you, so. And also the whole fact is she's like, yeah, the baby daddy situation, and she explained that, which I also thought was kind of interesting, her being like, in the discussion, even Axel's kind of smiling and laughing in the discussion, which kind of goes, okay, so what are they going to do with all that? Like, it seems like they're kind of pointing out to, like, Kit to be like, okay, what we doing with that? I'm very interested to find out what, like, that's all about. Now, on the other side of things, there's the whole Sam and Felix / Muhammad situation. Muhammad eating all those rats. Once again, playing in the whole, like, that's pretty brutal. I'm sure that's going to piss off a lot of, like, people who are really big into animals. That's going to piss, especially people who have rats for pets. That's probably going to piss them off seeing that. Just because he just has it, like, chewed up in his mouth, and he spits off the top half, and he starts holding it like it's a Slurpee or something. Not a Slurpee. What would be, like, a Go-Gurt? Which I guess is a weird thing to make the comparison to, because me saying that probably make it so someone's like, thanks, dude, now I can't eat a Go-Gurt. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people are like that. Me making a comparison, I don't think it will really stick in my head, but it's just the way he drunk it, like it was like almost like he was drinking a drink, and it's just it's like, okay, dude, that's brutal. Did it to a whole bunch of rats. But what I thought was so fascinating is he saw Kara. That's why I'm like, I wonder, well, because it also ties in with Sam's whole situation of like, oh yeah, she's been there his entire life, specifically around the time he started. I guess that was the first time he'd ever killed anyone. Like, he'd hurt his dad prior, and I think some stuff here and there, especially with animals and stuff, but I think at that place was the first time he had ever killed someone. That's why she showed up. Side note, is it me, or maybe I'm being stupid, that the lady who finally revealed her face, doesn't that look like the lady that Dimitri went to last season to find out, like, it's not her, but she kind of reminds me of her, or at the very least she seems familiar, because that lady was blind, if I remember correctly. Like, her eyes weren't like, this lady's eyes weren't clouded like hers, but she kind of reminds me of the lady that Dimitri went to visit, because we haven't seen hide nor hair of her. Like, I guess she's kind of off doing her own thing, but that might be her. I don't know. And then Sam ends up killing Felix because it's like, she's like, oh, you have to kill the get to what you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be, kind of like, oh, to fulfill your destiny, first you've got to kill the one you love, and he kills Felix. Which, it was weird because they had that whole relationship of him being like, oh, you're now a mice killer of mice CCs. Oh, I'm going to kiss you, doing all kisses and stuff like that. I'm like, this is such a weird dynamic to kind of switch over to, because it's supposed to be more reminiscent of his relationship with Muhammad, but they never really had that kind of relationship. But it's just kind of funny to me because it's like, you have Sam being who he is, kind of being all like to someone, and you're just laughing and having fun like that, and then proceeding to Sam killing him. Which, once again, vampirism in the show, it's so weird because it's like you strangled him and you killed him, but I guess it's kind of like you blocking oxygen to his head, so he's brain dead, which vampirism works like zombieism in this, in the sense of like you destroy the brain, you're good. I mean, you have to do massive damage and stuff like that, and hence why Axel kind of went a little ape shit with the knife and stuff like that to make sure super dead. So there's that, but it begs the question of like, it's still kind of interesting to me that you're like just strangling someone. But to be fair, even hanging a vampire would be enough to kill them. That was kind of the whole point last season too. It's like, if you hang a vampire, they could die. It would take a very, very long time, but yeah, they could. Falling from a far enough height will kill them as well. You know, so it's like if your body takes enough damage, there's to a point that even a vampirism's healing factor, even an accelerated one, would still have trouble keeping up with massive damage like that. So I guess. But it turns out it was all for nothing. And you actually see Sam actually break down because it actually felt so bad. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because, for one, even before all this, I guess before he met up with Muhammad again, like if Muhammad disappointed him, it's kind of like he'd already gotten attached to Felix and he saw the potential that Felix had even before becoming a vampire. So I guess that's what set in his mind why he chose Felix over Muhammad, potentially. I mean, I guess for him, it's like Muhammad was always the mouse when it came to their relationship. I guess that's what that's supposed to represent, because it's like, I was going to kill you always, but now it's just kind of like, yeah, you'll stay the trapped mouse, and I'm like, I've got the person I really want, because Felix has more guts. I don't know. It's kind of hard to understand Sam's logic. Kind of doesn't matter at this point in time, because Felix is gone. It's also interesting that the crowbar came from Kara, but like it ended up being a real crowbar. So I guess it's one of those things of like, it was all in his head, but he got it himself, but he didn't realize it because he's so up in his own head, which is interesting because I'm like, does that really happen when vampires being able to like hallucinate like that? And I was like, I'd assume the only person that'd be able to do that is an elder, because you have Kara being like, go kill Sam, and that woman telling Sam, go kill Muhammad. It's like, and then Kara just disappears when it happens. I'm like, okay, so that's got to be an elder messing with them. Why though? I guess it's like their destiny. Like it's either going to be Sam or Muhammad. It's key to whatever this whole thing is. I'm assuming they're going to run into Scarlet and Vanessa, and when that happens, maybe potentially Muhammad will get cured, and then I'd assume Vanessa would probably cure Sam, just because it's like, okay, you're cured now. Now I can kill you without having to even think about the fact that you might come back. I don't know. Depends on if they go down that route, but I feel like sooner or later, Vanessa and Scarlet are going to cross paths with Muhammad and Sam, just because it seems like they potentially might go in the same direction, especially because Vanessa's, looking for the other two elders. So that's what I'm thinking. But I'm guessing that also means whatever, because it was almost like you can be one of them. So it's like, are they setting Sam or Muhammad up to be a replacement for one of the elders? Do you think Dracula doesn't have a physical body anymore, and so that when they raise him, that maybe he has to possess a body? So this is all about finding a suitable host for, well, not Dracula, the Dark One, but still obviously implying Dracula. I don't know. That's kind of like my current thought, but because it's like, oh, you be one of them. So I'm like, it seemed like you were kind of referencing an elder, but I don't know. There's a lot to that situation we don't know, which I'm very interested to see where all of this goes, especially like as we head towards Denver, because there's a lot of unanswered stuff when it comes to Denver, especially about the whole, well, like I said, we'll just have to wait till, find out more about the whole black tech situation, which is definitely going to be interesting when and eventually when Axel and them get there, but will they get there before the Sisterhood or what? What I also thought was kind of interesting is when Scarface screamed out, like he got a lot of people's attention. He got Sam's attention, he got the Sisterhood's attention, but it also seemed like he got Axel's, because it seemed like Kit didn't hear it. So I'm wondering, was it because he was once a vampire that he still exists on that frequency? Or I guess because he was close enough in range so it still kind of hit him, because he still kind of has some form of that vampiric mutation within him. It's kind of how I'm chalking it up, but I could be completely wrong about it. Either way, like I said, I'm very interested to see where all this takes us into the next episode with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.